Hey guys, this is going to be a little bit different video than normal. I know most of what I do is tutorials, and most of what you guys are looking for me is tutorials. However, I feel that it's necessary to just kind of share my thoughts on commands and the way that Mojang is doing things recently, in regards to commands as well as in regards to a couple other things, mostly focusing on the commands though. And because I've just been quite frustrated with the way Mojang's been doing a lot of the command related stuff. It's pissing me off. And for those of you guys who don't know, on top of doing commands for my YouTube channel, I will also do commands for the marketplace, as well as I run a very large Discord that's focused on commands. So I spend a decent amount of my time dealing with command block related things. I would say I'm fairly experienced. I've been doing commands basically since Bedrock Edition has existed. I've made multiple servers, multiple realms. I've done commands for a long time, so I would say that I have a fairly informed opinion. On top of, I interact with a lot of command block users on the regular. Some are marketplace map creators like myself. Some of them are going to be people who make realms. Some of them are just people on my Discord who use commands pretty heavily. And I just have a few thoughts on commands that I thought would be a good time to share for this week's video. But I do want to start off, and I do want to credit Mojang for where credit is due. I did not mean to hit that guy. I want to credit Mojang where credit is due, because there was a decent length of time where they were just kind of ignoring command blocks, and they weren't ever updating them. They weren't introducing anything new for them. They just kind of became stagnant. And more recently, they have been working to introduce new commands as well as update existing commands. Just to name a few examples, we've had HADS item and damage that have come out very recently, and I absolutely love both of these commands. Although Mojang, if you are watching, please add name detectors for HADS item so we can detect that name of an item, but that's unrelated. As well as we have the camera command that's going to be coming out, and while I have not personally used it yet, I don't really mess around with the betas. I just wait till stuff's in the actual game. It looks really promising, and it's going to be a really fun command, and there's going to be a lot we can do with it. However, that command is not out yet, and there's just been a few other issues that I feel like have been overlooked and I think need to be talked about. So enough of my really, really long intro. And like I said, if you guys are coming here for command tutorial, I'm not going to be doing commands today, just talking about them. But basically, there's been several updates, specifically the changes to /execute and /fill that I'm just not happy with. I'm going to start with /execute, which I think is the lesser of two evils. Quite frankly, I do like the /execute change. From my personal perspective, I play on PC, and that may seem irrelevant, but I will get to why that is important in a second here. So I play on PC. I really like the /execute changes. There's a lot more that I think we can do with them compared to what we used to. And I do also understand, because of the way that /execute works, it would have been quite difficult to have like both versions function at the same time. Like, you couldn't have the old version and the new version like work at the same time just due to syntax related stuff. So I do get why that is the case. However, one thing that is definitely noticeable is the new execute command is a lot longer to type out. Now, as a PC player, that's not actually that big of a deal. It's not too hard to type things out on PC, so I'm not terribly concerned about that. What I am concerned about is for number one, for mobile players, it is definitely a little bit harder, but it's not that much harder because you do have like, a keyboard that you can kind of tap. So I don't think it's too difficult for mobile players. However, for console players, it's kind of a pain. And I used to play Xbox when I started doing commands. I was on Xbox, so console players, I do absolutely get your pain. If you guys are doing commands on console, if you've done it before, it kind of sucks because it's really slow and tedious. You also don't have the ability to pick block commands without a keyboard. And if you guys are on Xbox, at least, I don't know about PlayStation. I never use PlayStation. I know at least on Xbox, however, you can actually plug in a keyboard to your Xbox and it will work for commands. And I highly recommend doing it if you're doing a lot of commands. But yeah, it's kind of a pain. And so the new execute, I mean, no matter what, the new execute's like longer. Like, even if there is more stuff you can do with it, it is longer to type out. which, like I said, it's not a huge deal for PC players, not a massive deal for mobile players, but it's really, really difficult and really annoying for like console players. And I've seen a lot of console players. I do read you guys' comments and stuff, even if I don't always reply. I've seen many console players who, not just because they execute because of the fill command, and I'll get to the fill command in a little bit, are kind of trying to give up on commands, or at the very least, it's really difficult for them to be doing commands right now, and I don't blame them. So, like I said, the execute is longer, but there is more functionality that we do have with it. However, the fill command, on the other hand, kind of a different story because there's not anything necessarily new that we can do with the new fill commands that we couldn't like already do, even if it's just in a different format. And that in itself, it's like kind of begs the question of why was this change necessary? I don't necessarily think that it is necessary, but they did it anyways. And like I said, for the console players, it makes filling anything like twice as difficult. And if you guys haven't used Xbox, like I said, it is a pain to type these things out. It takes a while just for every single command. And so making the fill command as long as it did is real pain that didn't really provide much of a benefit, especially if you're an Xbox player. There's really no benefit. Unlike with the execute change that does enable a bunch of different things, the fill change doesn't really enable anything new, unless I'm unaware of something, but I don't believe that I am, and I know there's some minor advantages, but not really anything major. So on top of having the commands be longer, they also have the commands being a lot. Well, with the fill change especially, they did not have proper documentation for how you were supposed to type these things out. And when I mean like when you're typing in a command and you see I type something in and it gives me all these like automatically suggestions. It gives me those suggestions of things that I can type. They didn't do that with fill. And they said they were going to come out with it later. And they announced at the time that it launched they were going to add this stuff later, and I can't imagine any reason why. Like, why not just wait to update fill until you have these things? I had so many questions about the fill command because Mojang didn't add any documentation in game on how it's supposed to work, and the documentation that they had outside the game kind of sucked. And even their official documentation was wrong on a lot of things. And it's like why? Why can you not like properly document these things that you're going to change and force on all of us? Because we can't use the old version of the fill commands. So that was frustrating. And that was the start, but now I've been following some of the updates that they're giving to the fill command, and they're changing the way, for instance, concrete works. So now instead of doing concrete color and then you type out the color, it's like you just fill gray underscore concrete or whatever it is. And they're pushing that out now. We still don't have the autofill for the fill command, and they're changing again how the fill command is going to work. They're not pushing this. They're not pushing these in betas. They're not pushing these in previews. They're pushing these in just in the main game, for the most part. I think some of the stuff comes out in betas, but not enough. And it's like, I don't know. I can't see why they're doing this. Why are you not putting these things out in betas? Why are you making it as difficult as possible for people to learn commands? And you're not giving anyone the chance to give feedback. You're not listening to feedback at all. You're deciding that these changes need to be done. You're not providing reason that these changes need to be done. I hear things said like Java parity and that they're done for Java parity. However, we don't have Java parity with these commands. And that's another thing, is they're changing the colon to the equal sign. So if you go in and, for the sake of Java parity, they're changing the symbol. So normally you do like color, rude. Normally you do something like color, and then you have a colon here, and then you type in the color like green or whatever. Now you have to change this to an equal sign. Does it make the command harder? No. Does it make it longer? No. But if somebody's used to using the colon and they didn't read about this change, how are they going to know? Additionally, if you have command blocks that use the colon, they're still going to work, but if you change them, like similar to the old execute commands, if I open up the command block and change it, and it still has the colon there, I have to replace the colon with an exclamation point. And their explanation for this is Java parity. And my question is parity really worth that much? Is parity worth changing a single symbol? That doesn't change the meaning of the command. It doesn't change the use of the command. Literally, it just adds complication. My question would also be, if you wanted this, why would you not? I don't get why they're pushing these updates. I really don't. I don't get why they're not just waiting, saying, hey, hold back. Let's make sure this works how we want before we force it on anybody. They're not doing that. They're just saying, hey, we want to do this, so we're just going to do it. And I don't think that's good. And like I said, a lot of this you can see, especially with the fill command, with the changes to the fill. And when I say fill, I do mean like fill, set block, replace item, that whole, I guess not replace item, but you know what I mean, test for block, that kind of stuff. That whole combination of commands that like has block IDs and whatnot. You also have this level of inconsistency that I see, because I've talked about this in my video on the fill command a lot. If you remember light gray, so when I had this little example here, you know, color, normally, you know, you type light gray or something like this, but for here it's got to be, that was really rude, it's got to be silver, can't be not light gray. Now where does it say silver anywhere in the game? Oh, hi buddy. It doesn't. So why would anyone know that? There's not documentation saying that it's silver, so why would anyone know this? So I'm like, okay, so in commands, if I'm placing something like gray, then it's got to be silver. And then they pushed this update recently where it's you slash fill concrete differently. And so it's like, instead of concrete and then the color stuff, hi, thank you for the flower. Instead of, you know, like concrete and then you have the color thing, you do like blue concrete or whatever. So, but now they have it as light gray. I see that Phantom is going to ruin it. Thank you, Phantom. I hate you. But it's light gray now, and it's the same thing for wool. So if you're replacing concrete or wool, it's light gray. But if it's glass, if it's, I don't know if concrete, I think concrete powder is the same way. If it's like concrete powder, it's going to be silver. So now we have silver concrete powder and light gray concrete. And I don't get how new players are supposed to learn this stuff. I mean, the documentation's terrible. It really isn't there. And there's no consistency. I mean, realistically, unless you've been doing commands for a really long time, it's going to be a pain to try and learn this stuff. And I see a lot of new command people leaving commands because of the way that Mojang is pushing these updates and the way that they're changing existing commands. I get that they're trying to do some Java parity, and like I said, I do like the execute change. Like Mojang, don't get me wrong, I like the execute change. It is a good change. Fill is not. The fill change, the block ID change, it's not good. But it's not only that, the way that you, Mojang, if you're listening, the way you guys have been pushing it, where you're just putting it into the game, you're not giving us a chance to give feedback, and then you're changing it, like constantly changing it, so that we have no idea what's, like, unless you're reading every single update log, you're going to be constantly confused. It's not good. It's frankly, it's sloppy, and it's really destructive for the people that are not as good at commands and trying to get into it. I've been doing this for a long time, and even some of the stuff still confuses and messes me up just because of how much you guys are changing it, and I cannot imagine what that's like for the new players that are trying to get commands. So like I said, so I'm going to kind of wrap up the video now. Some final thoughts. Like I said, if you guys, I've said this in every video, if you guys are interested in commands, you want a good community to talk about commands with, I have a Discord. The link will be in the description. Please join it. There's a lot of people that'll help you with commands. And if you just like talking about commands, they will also do that with you. So beyond that, like I said, Mojang, if you are listening, please like change something, because this isn't working. You're gonna you're screwing people up. You know, the people who do the commands for servers and you know, even your marketplace that you guys make money off of. You're really screwing us up, but you're also screwing up the people that are trying to learn and trying to, you know, experience this part of Minecraft. You're really pushing them away from it. So really all I'm asking is that you guys, when you're changing commands, give us more opportunity to respond. Don't push commands until they're finished, especially like changing existing commands. Actually finish them before you push them on players. Because I mean, I simply can't see. I don't understand why we are getting commands and then you change them like a week later, and then you say that features coming out like the fill autofill for the fill commands. I don't see why you guys know that you need to do this and then you're not doing it. So I really just, we need to see more consistency. We need to see actual documentation when you guys are pushing new stuff. And like I said, you guys are doing, whoever's working on commands over at Mojang, you are doing some great stuff. The camera, I'm very excited for camera. Damage and has item, those recent things have been great. I wouldn't be surprised if we get something new for scoreboard other than dummy, but we need to see more consistency. You guys are going to be pushing people away from commands if you guys keep going like this. So please, I don't know, something different needs to happen though. That's all I'm saying. All right. If you guys enjoyed the video, good for you. Bye.